Dr. Maya Ellis, a 34-year-old trauma surgeon at a rundown veterans hospital in Ohio, carried quiet strength behind tired eyes. She was respected for her calm in crisis, but her heart bore the unseen weight of countless lives slipping through the cracks of a broken system. One rainy night, after a 16-hour shift, she collapsed into the break room chair and poured her soul into a letter. Not to make headlines, but to find release. Her words were raw. "Have you ever sat beside a forgotten soldier on an ordinary Tuesday, Mr. President?" She never intended to send it, but a well-meaning intern, mistaking it for official correspondence, mailed it. 2 weeks later, as Maya reviewed patient charts, a man in a black suit entered. "Dr. Ellis? The president is coming." Panic gripped the hospital. This facility hadn't seen a high-profile visitor in decades. Staff repainted walls, scrubbed floors, and repaired anything they could in a frantic rush. But Maya's dread wasn't about the mess. It was about the spotlight. She never wanted to be noticed, especially not by the most scrutinized man in America. What if he thought she was attacking him? What if it all backfired? The day arrived. Veterans lined the halls in wheelchairs, hopeful. Nurses stood in polished scrubs, and in the center stood Maya, heart racing, the folded letter burning in her coat pocket. A black SUV pulled up, and from it stepped President Jonathan Reed, not with bravado but quiet eyes that held weight, like maybe he had read every word. President Jonathan Reed walked slowly through the entrance, not with cameras flashing but with a calm that unsettled Maya. He greeted every veteran with a firm handshake, thanked each nurse with sincerity, and then made his way to her. "You must be Dr. Ellis," he said, holding up a folded letter. This was different. You didn't ask for anything. You just asked if we see you." Maya nodded, unsure of how to respond. She led him through the aging hospital. She didn't hide anything, not the peeling walls, not the flickering lights, not the outdated monitors held together with tape. She showed him the truth. In room 214, a veteran named Charles reached out, weak but determined. "Thanks for coming," he rasped. "They always promise, but never show." President Reed knelt by his bedside, gripped his hand, and whispered, "I see you." Later, they paused in the hospital chapel. Candles flickered. The air felt heavier than silence. Maya turned to him and asked, "Do you ever think about the ones you can't save?" The president sat beside her. "Every night," he whispered. "Some faces never leave." Maya blinked back tears. The powerful man before her didn't feel like a politician. He felt present. In a quiet room with a nameless veteran, Maya watched as President Reed gently placed a folded flag on his lap. The man blinked, for the first time in weeks. Sometimes, Maya realized, healing begins not with medicine, but with someone who finally shows up. After the quiet miracle in room 214, Maya guided President Reed through the hospital's back corridors. He asked to see areas not on the prepared tour. She hesitated, then led him to the old storage room, dusty and forgotten like the people it once served. Inside, shelves overflowed with unopened letters, faded patient records, and handmade cards from school children long grown up. One envelope, yellowed with time, caught the president's eye. It read, "To the president, if you ever come." Inside was a drawing from a boy named Kyle, just a stick figure holding his father's hand beside an empty chair. The note said, "I kept waiting, but no one ever came." President Reed held the paper tightly, his eyes glistening. "This should have never been ignored," he murmured. Outside, Nurse Irene stopped them. She was 62, the longest-serving staff member. "You're the first president to walk these halls," she said. "Why now?" He looked at her and replied quietly, "Because someone finally told me the truth." Then they stood before the wall of honor. dozens of veteran photos, each with a note. One read, "Ledger Marcus Dean died waiting for surgery." Maya clenched her jaw. We had only one working OR that week. The other was shut down due to budget cuts. Reed didn't say much, just whispered, "Not again. Never again." This wasn't about politics anymore. It was about forgotten promises, unanswered letters, and one woman's truth that woke something in a powerful man's heart. President Reed stepped outside to a neglected corner of the hospital, an overgrown garden once tended by volunteers. Vines strangled rusted trellises, flower beds sat dry and bare, and wind chimes clinked faintly, almost ashamed of their sound. "This was once a healing space," Maya said. "But like everything else, we lost funding, and eventually hope." Reed knelt by a broken rosebush, gently brushing soil from its roots. "My mother used to garden," he said. "She told me even broken things bloom, if someone cares enough." He stood, brushing off his hands. "We'll restore this. I'll fund it myself. We'll name it after the veterans who never had visitors." Maya stared. They'd love that. Later, he sat beside a Vietnam vet named Hank, who strummed soft country songs on a worn guitar. Reed listened quietly as Hank sang "Empty Chairs, Full Hearts," a song about loss, memory, and promises broken. "Do you hear them?" Hank asked afterward. "The ones we lost?" Reed replied. Hank nodded. "They still speak. We just stopped listening." Back inside, Maya introduced Reed to the hospital's youngest patient, Kyle, the boy who had drawn the letter years ago. Now 13, he lived with his aunt. Reed knelt, holding the restored drawing. "I'm sorry I didn't come sooner," he whispered, "but I'm here now." Kyle hugged him without a word. And for the first time in years, Maya saw tears, not just from a boy longing to be seen, but from a president who had finally learned to listen. Weeks later, President Reed returned, this time without cameras, press, or ceremony. He walked the restored hospital garden with Maya, where flowers now bloomed and soft benches lined the paths. At the center stood a bronze plaque, "The Healing Garden, in honor of the forgotten who still matter." Veterans and families gathered quietly. Reed asked Maya to speak. She stood near the plaque and said, "This garden isn't about plants. It's about presence, about remembering that behind every policy are real lives, real hurt, and real hope." Then Reed stepped forward. "One letter changed my direction. It didn't ask for a policy. It asked, 'Do you see us?' And that broke me open." A hush swept over the crowd. Many wiped away tears. Soon, Reed invited Maya to co-chair a national advisory board focused on veteran care. He created a White House room dedicated to veteran letters, each one read aloud weekly. No longer complaints, but connection. "I'm not the hero," Reed said in their first meeting. "Dr. Maya is, and every patient who spoke when no one was listening." At her office, Maya kept her original letter framed. Beneath it, a quote from Reed's visit read, "Sometimes all it takes is a question asked in honesty, answered with heart." And every veteran who entered that hospital from then on felt seen.